The knock came at 2:17 a.m. 3 sharp raps against the foggy driver's side window that jolted Marcus awake, his heart hammering against his ribs. In the rearview mirror, he could see 6-year-old Lily still asleep in her booster seat, surrounded by the stuffed animals and blankets that made their Honda Civic feel less like the desperate last resort it had become. Outside, illuminated by the harsh glow of the parking lot lights, stood a woman he'd never seen before, her expression unreadable. That knock would change everything, but not in the way Marcus feared. If you're moved by stories of unexpected kindness and second chances, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us share more real stories that remind us of the good still left in this world. Marcus hadn't always lived like this. 8 months ago, he had a modest 2-bedroom apartment, a steady job as an assistant manager at a local hardware store, and a life that, while not luxurious, was stable. He and Lily had movie nights every Friday, pancake breakfasts on Sundays, and a routine that helped them both heal after his wife Emma's death 3 years earlier. Cancer had taken her quickly, too quickly for either of them to properly prepare. But they'd managed to find a new normal, just the two of them against the world. Then came the layoffs. The hardware chain was bought by a larger corporation, and Marcus's position was deemed redundant. The severance package lasted 2 months. The unemployment benefits helped for another 3. But the rental market had exploded in their small coastal town, with vacation homes and short-term rentals driving prices beyond what any local service worker could afford. When their landlord decided to convert their apartment building into vacation condos, Marcus and Lily joined the growing ranks of the working homeless. "It's just temporary, Lilipad," he promised his daughter as they packed their most essential belongings into the car. "Just until Daddy finds a new job and saves up for a deposit on a new place." He tried to make it sound like an adventure, but the worry lines etched between his eyebrows betrayed him. For the first few weeks, they bounced between friends' couches and spare rooms. But goodwill had its limits, and Marcus was too proud to overstay his welcome. He found part-time work at a gas station, enough to keep gas in the car and food in their bellies, but not enough for the exorbitant security deposits landlords now demanded. The waiting list for affordable housing stretched years long. They developed a routine. Marcus would drop Lily at school, go to work, pick her up, and they'd spend evenings at the library or the park until closing time. Then they'd drive to a different parking lot each night, the 24-hour Walmart, the beach overlook, the industrial park on the edge of town. Marcus became an expert at finding safe spots where they wouldn't be hassled by security or police. He made sure Lily always had clean clothes, packed her lunch every day, and helped with her homework by the light of the car's interior lamp. He bathed her in the family restroom at the YMCA where he'd scraped together enough for a basic membership, just so they'd have somewhere to shower. No one at Lily's school knew they were homeless. Marcus made sure of that, terrified that Child Protective Services might take his daughter away if they discovered their living situation. "When are we going home, Daddy?" Lily would sometimes ask, her voice small and confused. "Soon, baby. I promise," he'd reply, hating himself a little more each time the words left his mouth. The night of the knock had been particularly rough. It was mid-October, and the temperatures had dropped unexpectedly. The car's heater worked, but Marcus was trying to conserve gas. They'd piled on extra blankets, and he'd given Lily his coat as additional warmth. He'd finally drifted into a fitful sleep around midnight, only to be startled awake by those 3 sharp knocks. The woman outside his window was in her early 50s, with silver-streaked dark hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. She wore a heavy cardigan and carried a thermos. Marcus rolled down his window just a crack, positioning himself protectively between this stranger and his sleeping daughter. "Can I help you?" he asked, his voice hoarse with sleep and weariness. "I think I'm the one who might be able to help you," she replied. Her voice was gentle but direct. "My name's Diana. I manage the coffee shop across the street." She gestured toward a small cafe Marcus had noticed but never entered. It looked too expensive for his budget. I've seen your car here the last couple of nights. Marcus felt his face burn with shame. We're just passing through, he lied. Had to pull over because I was tired. We'll move along. Diana's expression didn't change. It's 20 degrees tonight, she said simply. And that little girl deserves a warm bed. Before Marcus could respond, she held out the thermos. Hot chocolate. For both of you. And I have a proposition. Suspicion warred with desperation in Marcus's mind. What kind of proposition? The apartment above my coffee shop is empty. It's small, just one bedroom, but it's furnished and warm. You can stay there tonight, no strings attached. Tomorrow, we can talk about a more permanent arrangement. Marcus stared at her, waiting for the catch. Why would you help strangers like this? Diana's eyes softened. Because 15 years ago, my son and I slept in a car just like this one. Someone helped us when we needed it most. I'm just paying it forward. That night changed everything for Marcus and Lily. The apartment was indeed small, but after months in the car, it felt like a palace. They both slept better than they had in months. Lily sprawled across the twin bed while Marcus took the pull-out couch. The next morning, Diana explained her offer. The apartment had been vacant for months, her last tenant, a barista, had moved away. Rather than rent it out at market rate, she wanted to offer it to Marcus at a price he could actually afford. In exchange, he would help out at the coffee shop on weekends and some evenings. I need reliable help, and you need a home, she said simply. Seems like a fair trade to me. Marcus was overwhelmed. I don't know how to make fancy coffee drinks, he admitted. Diana laughed. I can teach you that. What I can't teach is integrity and work ethic, and something tells me you have both in spades. Over the next few weeks, Marcus learned the rhythm of the coffee shop. He discovered he had a knack for latte art and enjoyed the regular customers who came to depend on his friendly service. Diana was a fair boss and a kind landlord. She adored Lily, who often sat at a corner table after school, doing homework and charming the customers. The coffee shop became more than a workplace, it became a community. When customers learned of Marcus and Lily's situation, donations appeared, winter coats, school supplies, a bicycle for Lily's upcoming birthday. A regular customer who worked at a local tech company offered Marcus a part-time position in their warehouse, with potential for advancement. Another patron was on the board of a non-profit that helped families in transition and connected Marcus with resources he hadn't known existed. 6 months after that first knock on the window, Marcus and Lily were firmly back on their feet. The apartment above the coffee shop had become a true home, decorated with Lily's artwork and filled with the security they'd been missing. Marcus now worked full-time at the tech company while still helping at the cafe on weekends, not because he had to, but because he wanted to. One evening, as they closed up the shop together, Marcus finally asked Diana the question that had been on his mind since that first night. How did you know we needed help? What made you knock on our window instead of calling the police or just ignoring us like everyone else did? Diana wiped down the espresso machine thoughtfully. When my son and I were homeless, I became invisible. People looked right through me, or worse, looked at me with disgust or pity. The woman who helped us, she owned a small bookstore, she was the first person in months who actually saw me. Not as a problem or a charity case, but as a human being who had hit a rough patch. She turned to face Marcus. That night, when I saw your car, I didn't see a problem. I saw a father doing everything he could to protect his daughter. I saw myself 15 years ago. And I knew I had to knock. A year to the day after Diana's knock on their car window, Marcus and Lily hosted a special dinner in their apartment. Diana was there, of course, along with several of the coffee shop regulars who had become like family. Lily, now 7 and thriving in school, had insisted on making place cards for everyone. During the meal, Marcus stood to make a toast. A year ago, I thought I had failed as a father, he said, his voice thick with emotion. I couldn't provide the most basic necessity for my daughter, a home. I was too proud to ask for help and too scared to admit how desperate things had become. He looked around at the faces of people who had gone from strangers to chosen family. What I've learned since then is that sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is accept help when it's offered. And the most important thing you can do after that is to find ways to help others in return. He raised his glass to knocking on windows instead of looking away. To seeing people, really seeing them, when they're at their lowest. And to building communities where no one has to sleep in their car because they have nowhere else to go. Diana wiped away a tear as she raised her glass. To paying it forward, she added. Later that night, after the guests had gone and Lily was asleep in her bed, a real bed, in a room decorated with twinkling fairy lights and bookshelves filled with stories, Marcus stood at the window overlooking the parking lot where they had once slept. He could see a car parked in the shadows, its windows slightly fogged, suggesting someone might be inside. Without hesitation, he grabbed his coat and the thermos he now kept ready. As he headed downstairs, he thought about how a single act of kindness had created ripples that continued to spread. The nonprofit board that Diana had connected him with had recently approved his proposal for a transitional housing program specifically designed for working families. The coffee shop now ran a suspended coffee program, where customers could prepay for drinks and meals for those who couldn't afford them. As Marcus approached the car in the parking lot, thermos in hand, he took a deep breath and raised his knuckles to the window. 3 sharp knocks. A chance to pay it forward. A reminder that sometimes, the darkest moments come right before dawn breaks through. If this story touched your heart, please remember to like and subscribe. Your support helps us share more stories of hope, resilience, and the power of community. Remember, sometimes the smallest gestures, like a knock on a window, can change someone's entire world.